This will be an eye-watering spend of between $268 and $368 billion over the next 30 years. Hi, I'm Simon Atkins, your brand new apartment specialist, and I help investors, downsizers and first home buyers navigate the Perth apartment market. So Western Australia currently boasts the strongest economy in Australia out of any of the other states, and leading in many key indicators such as trade, retail trade, business investment and housing finance, as reported by the CommSec State of the States July 2025 report. So the WA economy has shown a lot of resilience and growth, and often outpacing national averages, and it's driven by its strength as an export powerhouse in things like minerals and resources like iron ore, obviously, and battery minerals. So this economic performance has also led to the strongest jobs market in the country, and of course, as I mentioned before, a booming population growth. And of course, jobs and population growth kind of go hand in hand. So it's been also announced, and this is what I was alluding to earlier on, that the WA economy will be getting another huge shot in the arm. So Perth has just been nominated as Australia's new submarine facility for a future fleet of nuclear-powered submarines, and this will be an eye-watering spend of between $268 and $368 billion over the next 30 years. Then the government will spend an initial $8 billion just to upgrade the shipyard facilities at HMAS Stirling, which is the Royal Australian Navy base that's located out on Garden Island there. And they're going to need 3,500 skilled workers, which will be needed just for the HMAS Stirling expansion alone. So big plans there. The investment is going to be spent over a decade, and it's going to transform a shipbuilding and maintenance precinct out there at Henderson. So, and of course Garden Island. So federal ministers have visited the site a few times during this year, and the HMAS Stirling Naval Base at nearby Garden Island as well a couple of times. So this all seems to be inked out and pretty much ready to go. Rubio came out the other day and said they're not going to sink this deal, so it looks like it is a go, and they've obviously, as part of the AUKUS alliance, have decided that they want more presence in this area of the Pacific. So its first target is to support Australia to build its own conventionally armed nuclear-powered submarines by the early 2040s, and this will play a key role in the maintenance of vessels which will occur at a yet-to-be-established defence precinct in the Henderson shipyards, as I mentioned before. So all of this comes on the backdrop of a huge population growth in WA and a serious undersupply in housing. So question comes to mind, where will they all live? To help house those involved in the AUKUS projects, additional housing is going to be built at HMAS Stirling and in nearby areas such as Baldivis and surrounding suburbs, and 550 homes will be built for the Australian Defence Force and their personnel and their families. So the efforts to grow Australia's defence workforce will also ramp up as part of that, with work starting on a new $200 million training facility out at HMAS Stirling last week. So this will create a new economic engine room right here in Western Australia, which already has an incredibly strong economy, as I mentioned before, as well as it'll add some diversity to it as well. So this will immediately impact areas, as I mentioned, such as Baldivis, Kwinana, Rockingham and other local areas, but also have a larger impact on the greater Perth region also, due to the amount of workers required and of course the housing needs required. So as you might have seen in one of my previous videos, the Perth market update video that I did just recently, we're already falling behind in our national housing accord targets. We're the state that's fallen furthest behind in meeting those targets, and we've fallen further than any other state. So Who will build these properties if we're already struggling to accommodate the current influx of residents? We'll have to bring in more tradies to build these properties and boost building output for the general Perth population as well, because we have to keep on top of that as well. So they also have to be housed, of course. So one thing is for sure, pressure on property prices is likely to remain for quite some time, as I previously mentioned. This is just another layer on top of that. And if Australia as a whole is not doing so well economically, then interest rates, and they like to use interest rates to play around with inflation rates. If Australia on a whole isn't doing well economically, and like I said, we are the strongest economic state, they're likely to push interest rates lower and keep them low, and this can create an opposite effect for us in terms of making the economy run away even more. It'll have an opposite intended consequence for us in Western Australia, as we would likely be out of step with the rest of Australia's less robust economy. So while this would be another boost for the economy as a whole, of course, there'll be people worried about things like toxic nuclear waste, of course. I'm not sure how they're going to be dealing with that, but it also spells bad news for home buyers, and because this will be just one more reason why the property market here is likely to be a wild horse for some time yet, and somewhat untamed. So thanks for watching. This video is a little bit outside of what I'd normally do, but I think it's important that we cover these things that are really going to affect the property market. If you hit like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that, and I'll see you next time.